We are headed to Uganda's Bwindi impenetrable forest, where giants roam free. Seen by few, they're powerful, they're intellectual, and they're on the edge of survival.
They were somewhat intimidating, and I wasn't expecting to feel that way.
I must say that our visitors today saw something very rare, something that we should be proud of.
Mountain gorillas are endangered, with fewer than 1,100 left in the world, so every life counts. This is a story about the fight to protect endangered mountain gorillas and the people at the heart of the race against time to protect them. We're about to embark on a once-in-a-lifetime experience to see endangered mountain gorillas, and I'm so excited to be joined by WWF Ambassador Maisie Williams. How are you feeling?
I'm so excited. I've never done anything like this before, and as you say, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Fantastic, here we go. So we are on our way to see the biggest gorilla family in the park, the Rushegwag family, and on our way we've just come across some 2-day-old poo, so we're definitely headed in the right direction. Let's keep going. Behind me is a small family of mountain gorillas with a baby that's about a year and a half old apparently. We've just found them in Bwindi's impenetrable forest. We've seen somersaults, roly-polies, a few farts. It is an incredible experience to see these endangered animals up close in the wild where they should be. There is not a single mountain gorilla in captivity, and that's because they just don't do behind a glass in a zoo. So the only way to get to them is to do what we're doing, which is to go to them in their natural habitat like we are right now. The gorillas are surrounded by several trackers at the moment. A search party sets off really early in the morning to track down a family. They leave a marker the night before when they leave the gorillas and return back to that marker the next morning, and then start following trails or poo to find the troop this day. So the trackers are guiding us through the forest at the moment and clearing a trail as we walk.
We sat with Game of Thrones star Maisie Williams in the shadow of Bwindi to talk about how seeing the gorillas had impacted her.
Can you describe how it felt to see mountain gorillas for the first time?
Honestly, it was quite confronting. They are so similar to humans. I mean, like 98% of our DNA is shared with them.
Is there anything that surprised you about the encounter?
Just how intimidated I felt by their presence. I wasn't expecting to feel that way, but at the end of the day, we're in their home and they kind of hold the power, and we're guests visiting, and you really feel that way.
Do you have a standout moment from your trek, something that you'll relive?
There are many, but we saw a little baby gorilla riding on the silverback's back, which is apparently quite rare.
I've worked with the Uganda Wildlife Authority for 13 years, actually 13 and a half, because I will make 14 in November. And I must be sincere that every day tracking the mountain gorilla is very strange. It's very new because we learn something every day. And it's really unusual to see a chastity or see a baby climb a dad for a ride. And so today was a very special day.
There happened a rare scenario where the silverback carried an infant on its back. It made our experience awesome because usually it is the duty of the mama to carry the babies. But for the silverback to come in and carry an infant on its back, it was a good one. It was a rare experience. Clients were happy and I was happy too. We rarely see that.
We spoke to primatologist Kath Lawson of WWF UK, who warned that the conservation success of mountain gorillas remains precarious. Despite this, there are many reasons to celebrate.
They are the only great ape that's believed to be increasing. There are thought to be more than 1,000 individuals now, And they recently went from being listed as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List to now endangered. But it is a really fragile success. Mountain gorillas are still a conservation-dependent subspecies, and it's a constant negotiation of coexistence between the different players that operate in this landscape. That's people and nature, governments and communities, and also the NGOs that work together for mountain gorilla conservation. Our work is implemented through the International Gorilla Conservation Programme, IGCP, which is a coalition of WWF, Fauna and Flora and Conservation International. The added risk for mountain gorillas is because of their genetic similarity to us, they can be very susceptible to human diseases. And simple things like a human cold, might be really detrimental for a gorilla group. So climate change is definitely a potential threat for mountain gorillas. There are some things which make them adaptable. As a primate, that's quite an adaptive species. They also have a wide range of vegetation in their diet, which will enable them to adapt as the climate changes. However, there are certainly concerns as climatic conditions change vegetation. That might change different diet options for mountain gorillas. Mountain gorillas also live in effectively islands within the habitat that you find them, surrounded by human-dominated landscape. So there's limited space for them to go and move as climatic conditions might change the habitat.
I think, like most people, I have a lot of climate anxiety, and I can find that to be quite debilitating at times. But I think the worst thing to do in situations like that is to stay still. I think that people who I think it's actually a study on it, that people who fight against the injustices that they see tend to feel happier. So I think that being part of WWF and partaking in all of their efforts is something that helps me to feel more inspired for the future, and yeah, hopefully try and be a part of the changing of that too.
Medard Twongire holds a mound of barbed wires and spears which have been discovered in Burundi over the last 3 years. The Ugandan Wildlife Authority's head ranger told how up to 30 snares are discovered a month, down from around 100 which were being found during the COVID-19 pandemic when tourism halted and locals ventured back into the forest for food.
These snares cannot understand a gorilla and a bushbuck, but when they are set by poachers, and a gorilla can be trapped accidentally. So that's why we fight hard to make sure that we have no snares set in the forest.
Being a guide also is another thing that has helped us in conservation impact. In that sometimes when we go in the forest, we are teaching these people how to conserve.
I've got to know many things I didn't know as far as conservation is concerned. Because as trackers, we are at the forefront, we are the custodians to these animals. We've learned their behaviors, how they live, and in comparison as to how us as individuals live vis-a-vis the animals, I've learned how we can live concurrently together, them in their wild, for us in the communities. But once we are together, I know what now I'm supposed to do to live along with those animals.
So many people, they see me as a ranger tracker, they pick that interest that if a lady can do it, also me, I can do it. So many people like villagers, mostly girls, they have picked that interest to be ranger trackers.
To become a role model to younger women.
Yes.
Revenue from mountain gorilla tourism is fueling tension between conservationists working to protect the species and local communities trying to improve their livelihoods.
More tourism coming in and more tourism booming is the more our community benefits, because there is a lot that happens with tourism and more with conservation. So I'm so happy with more tourists coming in, tourism booming, and the gorillas being protected.
I have been kind of skeptical about tourism where you can see wild animals in their natural habitat, just because I feel there are some instances where those packages are maybe not quite as ethical as people are led to believe. But coming here and seeing what's happening in Burundi Impenetrable National Park is really inspiring, and a gold standard of what we can do if we do it correctly. And I think it works beautifully with the community here, and benefits not just gorilla conservation but also the people who live in the area.
This is an example of a tank that's been funded thanks to tourists who are visiting mountain gorillas nearby. Before the tank was here in this local community, girls, women, would often have to trek 5 kilometers one way and 5 kilometers back with water. We've been told that some school pupils have even dropped out of school because of the strain of not having water and having to commute long distances to get it. So this has been life-changing, and all thanks to tourists visiting the nearby mountain gorillas.
I think now there are more than 35 households, because by the time we constructed, there were 25. But now
Grown a bit.
they have increased.
Everyone would want to see more gorillas coming in, being born around. So it's really for the better of our community and even the country at large. I think there is no more concern about more gorillas, being around, because the forest is really large enough to accommodate the number of gorillas.
Mountain gorillas are found in just 2 subpopulations in the entire world. The areas where mountain gorillas can go are limited. And so whilst it's fantastic that mountain gorilla populations continue to increase, there is a point at which the habitats that are available for mountain gorillas may not be able to sustain the number of gorillas that we have. What's really exciting is that at the moment we're about to start, through the International Gorilla Conservation Programme, a mountain gorilla action planning process. And that will bring together all of the stakeholders that work in this landscape, NGOs, government, community, to work together to think about what the future for mountain gorillas look like, how solutions that work for both people and nature can be part of our conservation plans going forward.
Henry, can you tell us a bit about what IGCP does?
IGCP does the work of supporting conservation of mountain gorillas, and we work with the communities that live adjacent to the park to support their conservation efforts. We also support in forest activities like the census. We've always done the census together with the park authorities every 5 years, and the last one was in December 2025.
Dozens of volunteers spend nearly 6 months sweeping the floor of Bwundi's National Park for fecal samples and nests as part of a gorilla census every few years to track how well the animals are faring.
There are 2 sweeps of the entire habitat where a group of trackers and rangers move through the landscape looking for signs of gorillas, so nests and then fecal samples. They then take DNA samples from those fecal samples and sequence it, gather the DNA information, and then identify individuals and use that information from the 2 sweeps to estimate the number of gorillas that they think are in this habitat. And it's a really robust estimate based on the techniques that they're now using.
It gives us the numbers, and it gives us a picture of the threats within the park, especially the illegal activities, and also it helps us to know other animals that are within the park, so that we can plan better for the conservation activities and also know the challenges that the communities face.
Among the community members we met were the Single Mothers group, who have banded together to prove that single mothers can thrive and build a better future for themselves and for their children.
My personal story, I got married at 13 years. I had my first child. When I got my second child, my husband could drink a lot, and only what he could do to me is beating me up. I could at least be beaten 5 times in a week, which was very hard, but I had to endure the situation, because at first I had no hopes that maybe my story will change one day. He got my 2 weeks baby and threw out of the window. It was in the middle of the night. I had no choice and no option. My neighbors heard the cry of the baby. They came and helped me out. That's when I decided to live as a single mother, but it kept within me. I kept on telling myself that I'll make sure I fight for single mothers. And that's what we are fighting for. We have to make sure these single mothers get their happiness, because everyone deserves to be happy.
I think if people feel inspired by this video and they want to come and see gorillas in the wild, I just think it's really important to follow the rules and learn from the people here who are very willing to teach you about gorilla conservation so that we can keep this going and not impact gorillas negatively.